Oh, I see. Oh, you don't see it at all. So what is this? For what? Oh, just to cover.
Good afternoon, y'all. I'm the Reverend Julie Eklund, welcoming you to First Congregational, First Tuesdays. Thank you. I'm offering you a very warm welcome on this chilly day. And I have what you all want to know. Our soups today are Southwest vegetable and rice, and they are both gluten-free and vegan. And the other one is creamy Italian Parmesan sausage. So enjoy. We have a great program today. We hope you enjoy it. And now Thatcher.
Thank you, Julie. And it's a beautiful day. We're glad you're here. This is going to be an interesting program. As you know, Sean Lynch was supposed to sing some wonderful songs today. Singers need voices. His voice is laryngiticized. So Joanne is filling in. And we've done a lot of work. One of the interesting thoughts that we were getting into as we said, okay, what do we do? What do we do? Said, a lot of people know the organ makes noise, but they don't know how it makes noise, why it makes noise, etc. And so we thought we'd take this opportunity literally to do a walkthrough on the program. Now, she will close out with the Vidor Toccata, which means touch. And it's 8.5 minutes of just remarkable rhythm and sound. And the Vidor is, the composer becomes significant as part of the story of this organ. So I'm going to walk you through, hopefully quick, outline of why we have this organ here. And the simple thing about this organ is that it's highly improbable it's here at all. Now, the reason for that is literally the constellation of all kinds of stars, and I mean that figuratively and literally. So the stars are great French organists and composers, all of whom were born and lived, roughly speaking, 1850 to 1930. And they were in Paris. And Charles Marie Vidor was a wonderful teacher, a wonderful organist, a wonderful composer. You also have, unless I block out on all of these names, you had, just a minute, you had Alexander Guillemot, comparable. And let's see, who else did we have there? Who else do we had? Vidor, Louis Vierne, and then we had Dupre. And then we have Clarence Shepherd, not exactly a French name. Clarence Shepherd was the organist here in the 1905, 1910 frame. Interesting guy. He studied organ in Paris. He studied organ in Paris with Alexander Guillemot. So you have Guillemot, Vidor, and Vierne. These three fabulous organists. Put differently in today's football terms, it'd be like studying with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, and the best of all, Bart Starr. I mean, this is the quality of skill and competency and brilliance. Now, Marcel Dupré figures in because he was as much a protege as Mozart. At age, I think, 16 or so, he enters the French, Academy of Music. He's playing fluently when he's 8 and 9 and 10, just one of these remarkable personalities. And the connection there is that Marcel Dupré played twice in this church in the 1920s. Now just think of that. You have this world-class organist who played all over. He'd go for 6-month tours on England and America, coming to Oshkosh because he was a student buddy friend of Clarence Shepherd. And then you say, okay, Clarence Shepherd is now the key figure in this constellation of literally stars, the stars of Widor and Guillemot and Vierne. Because when Clarence Shepherd studied in Paris, he met all these people. He grew up on the, I'll pronounce it in American terms, I'm not going to even try French, the Cavell call organs. Cavell Call was kind of the most famous and advanced thinker in organ design and development in France. And his run was roughly from 10 or 20 to the end of the century. And he literally invented the symphonic organ that could replicate the various sounds of a symphony and developed that with an overlay of the French Romantic style, which is just these warm and lush sounds. You know, some organs can sound like a calliope, some can have this very harsh, kind of nasal sound. Every organ has its own sound and own personality. The French Romantic organs are just like this one. One of the voicers at the Cavell Call firm went to work for the Casavant organ company in St. Hyacinthe, Quebec. And this is what he knew, and at this period of time, this is how the Casavant sound came to be in existence. So you have these three great French organists with their deep, deep knowledge and understanding of sound and music and beauty and all of that stuff. Meeting the Casavant brothers and having the Casavants build house organs for themselves, so you have this relationship. And then you have a boy from Oshkosh, Clarence Shepherd, who must have been a wonderful organist player, because you don't take lessons from the best unless you are, is kind of the center of this random constellation of stars that all had a sense of what the voicing, the sound of the organ should be. And the Casavant story is interesting. Blacksmith father, priest says, hey, build me a organ. Here's the instruction manual how to do it. And this is, say, in 1870-ish. And so the blacksmith looks at the book, and the book is from 1776. Other things happened in that year in the United States. And so I say, yeah, I can do it. So he builds an organ, finds there a market for it, starts building other organs. His kids are brought into it. He dies. The kids go to France. They do kind of apprenticeship tour. They work for the Cavell Call firm, kind of learned how to be organ makers. And then in like 79, they start out on their own. And they learn how to build organs. They build them state-of-the-art. The organ that we had originally was a it was a mechanical pneumatic organ. Now, what that means in practical terms is the console was right up against the casework there. If you get up close, you can see slightly different color wood, a little lighter. That's where the organ console was, smack up there, and it mechanically opened up the individual pipes so that they could sound. In 1952, the console was moved to where it is today, and it was made electric pneumatic. So you had relays running the darn thing as the operating system. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we now have a digital operating system with all of the fancy stuff that digital technology will give us. The organ, as you see here, is a 3-manual organ, 3 keyboards, or console, I'm sorry, the console, has 3 manuals. We originally had a 3-manual. There are 51 stops. Show the stops. We'll do a little definition here. Those are those black buttons that you see. Each stop controls air to a rank of 61 pipes. They're like a family, 61 pipes. And then that's how you get the air to that rank, by pulling one of those buttons. And then when you want the individual pipe to sound, you press the key. Pardon? Are we starting the pipes? Well, not quite yet. Not quite. Anyway, the thing about this whole piping system is that it was invented roughly 600 years ago. You know, they figured out the logic to this, early on, and then over the time refined and built the scope of what the organ is and what it can do. So this organ is the 469th organ that Casavant built. So that was built in 1911, and this sanctuary was built also in 1911. So they were paired up so that the organ would speak from this chamber here and push the sound outward. In the congregational church tradition, the churches were always the meeting houses for the communities, you know, from the Puritans moving west. And this auditorium served as the community's auditorium until Alberta Kimball Hall was built, until the university built its music hall in the late 60s and 1970s. And that was part of the tradition of the congregational church. So the church was built with the expectation it would serve as the community meeting house. And in many ways, that tradition continues today. So that's a little bit about how these stars aligned to have Clarence Shepherd in Paris at the right time and right place, absorb the symphonic organ sound, and then specify it, because who else in their right mind would reach out to St. Hyacinthe, Quebec? Have you ever heard of St. Hyacinthe, Quebec? And the answer is no. And now put yourself back to 1911. You know, good heavens. I doubt, maybe it didn't even know of Ottawa. I don't know. But that's the story that gets the organ here. Now, I'm going to just look at some very short bits of information. Now, the pipes, as I say, are in 51 ranks. There are a total of about 2,300 pipes. The smallest pipe is the size of a pen, and the largest one are those 16-foot ones in front that look like they're just plain big. So we are going to do a little wandering now through the organ. Joanne is going to demonstrate, and when she wants to speak, she'll grab this thing. I'm going to walk over here. Pardon?
I am going to say something. People have wondered when they've been here, how come they could never see the organ? And the reason it is as it is this is the organ console, and over here to to the left is known as the readable. This slides out and covers the organ. So you would, or the organ console, you would not see it unless you intend to hear it and see it played. So this, if you could just imagine this big piece of wood all the way across this. So that's why that's been taken off so you can watch and see the organ console now. So that's why.
Now there's some cool stuff about just the mechanics of this console. It's a 1985-86 build by Casavant. We sent most of the pipes back to the factory to be renovated, repaired, cleaned, and so forth and so on. We replaced a bunch of lead tubing with plastic tubing, just kind of brought it up into the 20th century. And you'll see these black keys here are all cut from one piece of ebony. And it's a big whopping piece of ebony so that as temperature and humidity changes, the keys will expand and contract together. And when you are playing the organ, that's kind of huge because you are, well, you'll see going at a flash. So with that, we have the stops here, the keys there, and then down below you see a bunch of pedals, and Joanne plays those with her feet. So it helps to be coordinated. So with that, let's just get going here. The 3,600 pipes are divided into 4 divisions. You have the swell, the choir, the grate, and the pedal. So let's start in the swell. And let's see here. Let's start with strings. How about the flutes? And the oboe. And the cornopian. The quintadina. Quiet, isn't it? And the vox humana, or the human voice. I like that one. And then we have 2 more, the principals, or open diapason. We're going to wander over to the choir division and start with the flutes. We have great flutes, wonderful flutes on this organ. Those are flutes to die for, really. How about the principals? And the clarinet. And let us wander over to the great division, which is the largest and the loudest of the divisions. And let's start with the open diapason. And now the flutes. Oh, aren't those beautiful? Do we have some quieter strings? And the trumpet. And there are some things called mixtures. So she pulls out a couple of stops to mix them together. The pedal division, obviously, is paid with Joanne's 2 pedals. So let's hear the flutes down there.
Several flutes. This one?
Whichever one you want. We have many flutes. Sure. We have just start, if you would, and get to the 32 foot so we can hear the different sounds of the flutes as you add. 8 foot?
16-foot flute?
16.
32.
And 32. Ah, I wish I could sing at that pitch. And then the quint. The quint. That's a timid little sound, isn't it? But pretty. The reeds. And the reeds contain the trumpet and then the bombard. And the bombard. Now we have those 4 divisions, and we have 2 kind of specialty standalone bits of music makers. First, the chimes. And then to recognize Joanne's 40th anniversary as organist at this church, which was, I think, 16 years ago, the church gave, in her honor, a Zimbalstern, which is like one of those Christmas candles, you know, candles with the angel and chiming going around. Same idea, but the source is a pipe that goes. So now we're going to play around for a few minutes with the way the... Oh.
I just realized that I left the music that you're going to sing in the other room. I need to go get it.
Well...
56 years, you get to forget something once in a while.
The remarkable thing, you know, at least as I see remarkableness, and I have to keep us kind of on schedule here, is that with all of these combinations, and you have 51 units of 61 pipes, and you do the permutations and combinations of that, you literally are in the billions and billions of possibilities, probably more possibilities that you could ever finish in your own life if you tried playing one every second. There are so many of them. And this is where we're going to play a little bit by showing you what happens when Joanne adds and subtracts pipes. So just add a few and subtract a few.
Okay. Between divisions, right?
Between divisions.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start with the open diapason on the grate.
The open diapason on the grade.
We're going to add the cornopian.
Then you can control the volume by swell shades, which are they're just shades. They open, they close, and they just muffle the sound coming out from the organ. Now, let's explain, if you would, how you, just how the 6 and 8, 4, 2, and the 2 2/3 mutations, as they're called, work. Yep.
I'm going to start on middle C. Most of you know about middle C. So I have an 8-foot on middle C, and this is what it sounds like. I'm going to play a 4-foot on middle C and a 2-foot on middle C. So when I play all three, I am still playing only one key, but the connections are made. Good. And we also have a 16-foot, if he's working today, we'll see. Here he is. So he speaks 8 notes or an octave below middle C when I use him that way.
Now, there are a couple of other ways that Joanne can mix the sound. Point to the couplers.
Okay. Couplers combined.
So the couplers are little tabs that you just push on and off right above the top manual there.
So I can couple. I can combine, if I want the sound in the pedal, I can take the diapason from the grate and put my grate to pedal coupler on, and I can play it in the pedal. Is an octave lower, but it's still the same pipe.
So there are all kinds of ways that you mix the pipes together with some quick and dirty ways to do it when you're playing the organ and don't have time to do anything. What's down there by your feet, Joanne?
We have combinations. They are called presets. We can set the registrations ahead of time. So I might push a button. And if my hands are busy, I can push the same buttons with my feet.
What you can't see is right down there up against the console are some gadgets that she can whack with her toe to turn them on and turn them off. Then, with that instruction, you know everything the organ can do. It's like chess. It's a very simple game. So, get your hymnals out, and Joanne is going to lead us in 2 hymns. The first is 677, Let There Be Peace. And then I'll tell you where the second one is when we're done with the first one.
Front row might have to get.
Yeah, front row, you guys can go and find some hymnals right behind you probably. The organ is the best instrument there is in the world for leading community singing, and we are today a community. Okay, so that's page 677.
Short intro.
720, "Oh Beautiful for Spacious Skies." No, one verse, we don't have time for all three. You guys are great. So we're going to close out the program with Joanne playing the Vidor Toccata. Runs about 8.5 minutes. If you get curious about these things, as I did once, but not very often, I counted the number of pages by the average number of notes per page to say and find out that in the next 8.5 minutes, Joanne will play 5,000 notes. So you kind of do the number, okay, 8.5 minutes, 5,000 notes, 8.5 goes into 5,000. It means she's playing about 576 notes a minute.
Really?
Yeah.
I never counted them.
And we're going to pay you a penny for each note. And then if you break that down, it averages out to about 6 or 7 notes a minute. Now there's some chords in there, so she's kind of cheating with more notes played at one time. But this is, you know, just the reality of it until you look at the math, as I just did. I said, oh my goodness me. So with that, she's going to get ready. I, the most important person, the page turner, will turn pages. Pretty exciting, isn't it? Oh my. Well, thank you, Joanne. Thank you for graciously filling in, and thank you for the work you've done this past week to bring this into your fingers. Well, we'll remember that for next month. So next month we have Dixieland, and then in April we have guitar and flute. In the meantime, it is now time to do the most important thing, which is go find bread. And if any of you want to come up here, come on up and take a look. Thanks so much. See you downstairs.